Whoa. Woo, Nelly. Do we have a week in store for you? Guys, welcome in. Welcome into another edition of the Fourth and One podcast. I am your co-host, Coach Trey, and live with us, but not pictured because he is actually going through a bit of a moving of computers, as one might would say. Um, is our own Rusi. Rusi, I really appreciate the little.
Moving in general would probably be the
I like the pick.
you like the pick, dude? Little J Don.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, we're here, dude. We're here. Just got a new PC. Don't have a camera for it. Don't have my other laptop. Didn't want to get my phone, so figured just give us a little Ole Miss LSU hype picture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. If only we knew somebody that you know called it a year ahead of time that Jaden Daniels is going to be that good. But it's whatever.
Mm.
Definitely don't. Definitely don't need to reopen old wounds. Take that, Chad, idiot. Um, I think if we're gonna start anywhere, then we have to start. Which again, I know everybody wants to start closest to the house, but we're not going to do that. But if we're gonna start anywhere, I think we have to start with what we just saw. And bro, I kind of said this. I kind of said this last week on the show, and I don't know exactly the way that I worded it, but I do remember saying, and I quote, if you're not fully involved in the idea that teams can play up, then you're wrong. So before I go on my rant, how do you feel about what we saw last week?
Well, I mean, I'll just say this. I was in Biloxi at the sports books all day Saturday, and let's just say not a lot of happy Bama fans. Um so yeah, I think that was the craziest day of college football in history, besides that one day, like what, like over 10 years ago. Remember when like it was the last day or the last week and like Pat White was playing for West Virginia and
Yep.
there was like some crazy scenario that helped someone get into the playoffs or get to the championship game. It was
Yep.
a lot. It was a lot. I mean, honestly, what I will say is sure, you can call some of these upsets. Some of those were beatdowns. Like some of those weren't really fluky to me. Sure, everyone can have a bad game here and there, but a lot of those games weren't fluky to me. I think the better team at that point in the game won. So that was my thoughts. Craziness.
And the way that I basically worded it was that if you don't think that Arkansas can keep this close. Now, granted, I did not predict Arkansas to win the damn thing, or Vanderbilt at all. That one flew under the radar. But the Arkansas one was the one that I was referring to. And so when we look at these teams, you have to kind of take like a holistic like viewpoint. And I hate using that word, but it's true. Dude, they looked like they belonged in the game. You know what I mean? And so I guess here's what I'm going to ask you, because this is kind of where I want to get into. Does it say more about Arkansas and Vanderbilt, or more about Alabama and Tennessee, or do you want to go on different bridges for each one?
I'd argue different bridges. Let's just start with Arkansas, right? I think Tennessee, we can throw up a lot of signs for them. Did we know like they played a typically weak schedule? So did we know a lot about them? No. As far as Arkansas's been in a lot of close games this year.
Mhm.
So I think we knew they were pretty damn good, and I think they played in tougher games, so to say, than Tennessee. So I still think Tennessee absolutely choked that game away. Backup
It
quarterback
felt
comes
that way,
in.
didn't it?
Yeah, backup quarterback comes in with what, like 7 or 8 minutes left, and Tennessee's offense just folded. Uh, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one. I think Vanderbilt crushed Alabama. I I think that was a beatdown to me. Really, if you take away a couple of I wouldn't say fluke plays, but like good play, like long plays from Alabama. That game was a beatdown. Um, that dude, that quarterback, man, he's the real deal. He reminds me of like a more mobile Bo Nix. What's his name? Pavia from Vanderbilt.
Dude,
Dog. Dude's a dog.
he's kind of lit.
He's kind of lit. So I think Vanderbilt outplayed them. I don't think it was very close. I don't really have any arguments for Bama. Oh, they gave that game away. Blah blah blah. No, they got outplayed. That wasn't really close. That wasn't a
They
20-point favorite. That was more like a pick 'em right there kind of performance. So
they got pushed around.
yep,
And listen,
they got out coached.
is that it is not it is it okay, I'm starting to sweat. It is not to say that Vanderbilt is a better football team than Alabama. Clearly that's not. There is no one playing on Vanderbilt's team that got an offer to play at Alabama or LSU or Georgia or Ohio State. And that's not a knock on Vandy. That is an incredible hat tip to Clark Lee for telling his team to basically say, bro, like, who wants it more? And so if you're going to be in the business of saying that is a fluke win, I absolutely disagree. It is the classic letdown spot. It is the classic field rush fade, which we'll get to here with them, by the way, and just here in a second. It's college football. It is the emotional bloodletting that is let down after something like this happens. And so just like how Tyler said, get up, bro, get up for them, man. Like, let Vanderbilt have this moment in time. They walked the goalpost like 3 miles down. I was actually texting one of my buddies that lives out in Nashville. And I was like, dude, how far away is that? He was like, cuz put it in your in your Apple Maps and see where. Shout out to Apple and see how far it is, dude. It's like over 3 miles. It was a hike. And so on the opposite end of the spectrum, I felt like there was times in Arkansas and Tennessee where I was waiting for Arkansas to give it up, because Arkansas does give up the ball a lot, and they just didn't. Like it felt like they did enough late, and Tennessee played conservative with their play calling, which they do not ever do, and it felt like they played the best team they had played all year.
Yeah,
I
faced
think
some adversity, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes,
they face some adversity, and we get really upset with as LSU fans with game ones being so tough. But you set the tone, like you immediately go through a good game, win or loss. That way, like if LSU plays like an FCS school week one, do they come out and win that game against South Carolina? Because that was a gritty win. How do you handle being down? How do you handle adversity? And we clearly saw Tennessee could not handle it. We clearly saw
yes.
Bama almost couldn't handle it against Georgia in a case where they were up several scores, and then couldn't handle it against a decent Vanderbilt team. So
and you would ultimately like for your team to find out who they are and win. But and so there is there something to be said with not being able to finish games, like not being able to get your players to finish games. But when you look at it, and we'll get to LSU here in just a bit, but when you look at it, there are so many different things that happen in a game to make a team lose. Like it's very like that. It's very seldom, one individual thing that you can kind of point to outside of turnovers, or like a dumb flagrant call on, like, team doesn't have any more timeouts, it's 3rd and 3, and they call a holding penalty and convert it down, and it's like like something like that, like whatever. But when you find out who you are and you lose, you basically have your back against the wall, and you have to play that way for the rest of the year. And there's something to be said for, at some point you're going to get too exhausted from having to play like that with that much emotion, and at some point maybe the dam breaks. And so can LSU continue to stack wins? Can they continue to stack, these, as BK says, it's stack weeks and stack days together? Who knows? And
well,
so
man,
I think
I don't even I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no,
man,
go ahead.
it's kind of an even field. I would even say if you're comparing people's losses now, because that's what we're kind of doing at this point. If you look at the landscape of the SEC, all the good teams have a loss, right? So now you're comparing what were those losses, right?
Except Texas, but we'll get to them in a bit
Oh
too.
yeah, Texas. So Texas is clearly number one. I knew I was forgetting one team. Uh, Texas is clearly number one, but then the landscape after that is very close. Georgia probably has the best loss, right? If you're looking at how it stands now
Absolutely.
with Bama. Um, I mean, USC has lost a few games, so maybe that hasn't looked so great. I'm sorry, I don't have my camera. Anyways, so that loss hasn't looked great, but they're still a solid school. So like now you're getting into a situation like Ole Miss losing Kentucky. Like, was that a good
Right.
loss? South Carolina's clearly out of it. Ole Miss, we'll find out after this weekend. Yeah, it's a huge game. It's
I
to
agree.
me the biggest game of the weekend, and there that's
Saying
tough.
something. That's saying
It's
something,
tough.
bro. And to
Yeah.
your but to your point though, because we're gonna point out Texas, right? And if you want to get into this, let's just get into it. We'll start with
Mhm.
them. And I think I think if you're gonna be honest with yourself, then you have to look at Texas's schedule. I'm here for you to argue. Like let's forget for a second we don't have friends that are Texas fans. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. But tell me why Texas beats Colorado State at home. They go on the road and they play Michigan. How good is Michigan? They beat UTSA at home, little brother. They beat Monroe, ULM by a bajillion. I guess so. And then a quiet 35-13 win over State at the crib. And now you have the Red River rivalry
In a
where
game they were like 30-point favorites on, didn't even cover.
it is a lot of points. It's 14 and a half. Total is at 48 and a half. This feels like an Oklahoma cover all day for me. Like if I'm just playing how I'm typically playing these things, I'm looking at what I think Vegas will be, and if my number isn't within like 3 or 4, then it feels like something's happening. This one was in 2.5. I did not think that they were going to give them over 2 touchdowns, which means that I kind of want to take another field goal and play the 17 on Oklahoma
I
and
think
put it with a little AGNT Heisman,
mm,
but whatever.
um to follow up on Tyler's point, is Texas and I favorite? Clearly, I think
They have to be right now today.
today they are. I think we'll see as the season progresses. I We were just talking about this right before going on air. Uh, it's a scary game to bet because there's some variance. Last year Oklahoma won. The year before Texas wins by 7 touchdowns. Uh, so there's a lot of variance. Obviously, kind of the same old with Texas. Some new pieces around Quinn. Quinn is going to be playing. They've looked good with Quinn. They've looked good all season, if we're being honest. But like you said, they haven't played anyone. Oklahoma struggled with Tennessee a little bit, but it wasn't like a dog whipping. It was a pretty close game for most of it. So is this going to be one of those situations on a neutral site, probably more skewed towards Texas? But you know, I feel like you're right. If I had a gun to my head and I had to pick a spread, I'm going with Oklahoma. Have the tougher schedule. They've been through the adversity. Young quarterback, which scares me, but that also leaves the door open for a lot of improvement. So
Right.
if I had a gun to my head, give me the spread for Oklahoma, but I hate it because I can see the variance going either way here. So,
And so once you kind of, and again, like as we, kind of kick this around a little bit, my like my immediate thought for something like this is, for example, Oregon is about to get their welcome to the Big Ten game. Maybe. And I'll say, if you're going to look at this game and you're going to say 14 and a half points, I'll word it like this. Does Tennessee's rank right now feel fair to you?
8.
Does that feel fair?
As far as how much they dipped.
Just right now, teams they're better than, teams that are better than them. Does that feel fair?
Uh,
Yes or no?
I'd say it's about this. I'd say yes. I think it's
Okay.
fair.
Do you think where Texas is ranked is fair? Teams are
Yeah.
better than teams. Okay. Do you think the gap between Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee and Florida is the same gap or bigger? And if so, bigger, who's the bigger gap?
Gap between Texas, Tennessee.
No, between Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee and Florida. What's the bigger gap?
I, I, that's tough. Gun in my head.
Bigger gap, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma. Who's the bigger
Florida has
gap?
played well this year. They impressed me against UCF. They've impressed me all season. So I'm going to go with Texas and Oklahoma.
Okay. It's not by much, though, right?
No.
And so if I asked you to take a spread on Tennessee and Florida, what would you say?
At Tennessee?
Yep.
Probably 12.
Number's 15.
Yeah.
So those two things are separated by half a point. Most people would probably say from 1,000-foot view that gap would be bigger from Tennessee and Florida last week. This week, it kind of feels like you just, debated with yourself, kind of like a coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Okay.
Yeah.
So my point is you can't look at either game unless you look at their spot, unless you look at their previous body of work. How many bye games have they had? Where have they come off a back-to-back road? They just come off the road? Did they field like whatever? You can't tell me that you can look at either of those two games and not feel the same about both. You're not going to take one team on one spread and one team on the other. There's no way. Until what if I told you that since 2005, they have played 17 times, have Florida and Tennessee? They have played since 2005, or 19 times rather, 19 times. Florida has won 17 of those 19 games. I know that for the most part, Florida has been better than Tennessee for that time. So the question then remains, 17-2 is still a pretty damn big gap. Why do I not feel confident in Tennessee with 15 on the at home? Why does that feel? Because typically I would feel like Tennessee would have like the Georgia moment right now, where or rather the Alabama moment, where they want to get their lick back. Why do I not feel that way?
Because Ford is good-ish.
There's already chatter about Lagway being on the road down the road to go play for somebody else next year. I don't know if that's true. It's just the whispers that people say. That team may or may not have male cheerleaders. I don't know. And do yell practice, but we'll see. All I know is that if you're going to look at both of those games, I kind of feel the same about each. I kind of like Florida in the points, and I kind of like Oklahoma in the points. And I think
it's college football, so who knows?
But it's college football, and the total is at 56.5. So if you want to take my word for it, by all means, go ahead. I would buy both to 17 and play them together because I think both games are very comparable.
And, shout out to Small Craft US. I guess we can segue into this game.
Right into the biggest game of the freaking weekend, dude, and it's Ohio State on the road at Oregon.
Oh,
Listen,
okay, whoa, not one. One of the biggest.
I mean, that's where game day's at, Bruce. So it's kind of.
Oh, so Cal last week in Miami.
I mean, was that game not nuts? Was that game not nuts, bro? Dude, Miami's bad. They're not as good as people are making them out to be, but they are fun to watch, and I'll give them that. I will give them that. They keep creeping out, and one of these games are going to get caught, but not yet. But look, Ohio State goes on the road. They're a 3-point favorite. I don't love road favorites, but in this one, I kind of like them, man. Neither one of these teams have started out of the gate quick. I feel like Oregon has kind of sputtered. Ohio State has not looked unbelievable. I mean, they've looked fine, but I don't. I mean, there's something that tells me that Oregon could play a good game here, but
I
I
think both teams
I
have the
like
same
Ohio State in
situation.
those points a little
I
bit.
think both teams have the same situation if you really look at it.
I agree. I
Kind of,
agree.
I wouldn't say mid quarterback transfers, but like above average. Um,
Yeah.
good good defenses. I'll probably give Ohio State the edge on defense. Man, this game sucks. Like as far as like choosing who to pick. Like I watched the Oregon game on Friday when they played. Oh, whatchamacallit? Who'd they play? I'm blanking. They played someone
Who's
last
that?
Oregon on Friday. I watched the game in Biloxi in the hotel room.
How much did you drink for that Biloxi game, though?
Not as much as you think. They played Michigan State and won 31-10.
Last week they
Uh,
did.
it was a struggle bus. Like it wasn't like an impressive win. I have zero idea. I haven't really watched much of Ohio State. I've paid attention to their scores, and they're okay. They handled Iowa. I think Iowa's probably the common denominator as far as you know people who have if you're looking at like the best opponents on the schedule. So no idea though. Absolutely not.
I'm not really in love. I'm not really in love with that game. If you made me pick, I would go ahead and say something like maybe Ohio State to score first, maybe. I I don't know, man. That game's weird, but I
Take
think
the
Ohio State.
points. Take the points at home, man. I mean, if you're gonna bet on it, take the points at home, unless you really feel a strong way. And look, Small Graph US says Oregon's about to get their welcome to the Big Ten. It
Mhm.
very much could be. But man,
Son, if you wanna do then I would tell Dylan. That's who that is, by the way. That's my dog Dylan. I would say that's the same kind of viewpoint you should have with Penn State on the road at USC with 3.5 point favorite. I mean, you're telling me traveling from Pennsylvania to South, SoCal isn't going to be wild. Like I'm like James Franklin in this spot. When has that ever been a good collaboration?
they have been disappointing as look, they have and that's crazy, right? Because they're 5-0, but they have been disappointing this year.
Compared to what we thought. I mean, and I'm going to pull up their schedule right now just because I didn't. Great show prep, Trey. Appreciate that. I mean, they do their thing against UCLA. They beat Illinois by a couple tutties. Bowling Green, I mean, we were kind of texting during that game. And I mean, listen, I just, this feels like the classic Lincoln Riley, how did you win that game type game, or Penn State, how did you manage to give up that game type?
Give me the
That's what this feels
points.
like.
Give me
I
the
feel
points,
I
USD.
feel the same way, man.
Give me the
I feel the
points.
absolute same way.
Home team getting points can't go wrong. And I haven't felt comfortable with Penn State. Like, sure, they've won all their games. The scoreboard can be deceiving at times, but watching them, I just don't think the next level has been achieved from Drew Alar. I said that preseason. That was one of my big like he needs to step up and be great in order for them to like be an actual contender. And I just don't. I haven't really seen that step. I think they're relying way too much on the defense, and that's just going to bite you against teams that can score, especially like Lincoln Riley and USC.
Bro, we're not moving. We're not moving through the show anymore until we talk about him. We're not.
About what?
The man I doubted. The man the man that stopped me on my work trip in Dallas to put a bet in, Ashton Genty, my brother. I'm
My
gonna
Heisman.
I'm gonna give you the floor here. Boise State's on the road at Hawaii with a 20.5 point spread, and I'm gonna be street with you, bro. If that number gets to 22, I'm taking Hawaii because that is a massive number for a team that's not unbearable. And I know that Boise State's like that, but big dog, they're not on the bluegrass. Like they're on regular grass. So
I mean, Trey, they went to Oregon and lost by 3.
I know.
What do you need from this? What do you need from this team to not feel comfortable going on the road against freaking
I
Hawaii?
just said I don't love it, dude. It's a sleepy, weird game. I don't know.
I don't give a fudge who wins this game, who covers. I need Ashton to get the damn ball and run
I need him to just
because
keep
I
doing this
need this
thing,
guy
dude. I
to
hope they
win the
win
Heisman.
everything, dude.
Okay.
I hope they win their games, bro, because I need
I
that
hope
bet.
they win. I don't care if they cover. I just need them to win, and I need them to hand the ball off, pass him, whatever they need to do, and he needs to get this Heisman because this dude is on a pace to break Barry Sanders' record. And and let me tell you this, I'll say it's even more impressive right now because he has not played 2 second halves of games so far. He didn't play last week, and he didn't play against Portland State. I'm telling you, bro, this guy is insane. He's insane. Like 95 carries, 1,000 yards rushing. The leading rusher for Hawaii has 148 yards. So,
He's a
so
different breed, bro. He's a
bro,
different breed. It's
he's
always a
crazy.
quarterback award in this league. It's always a quarterback
He's
award.
got the same amount. Oh, the passer for Boise, the quarterback Matson, 1,056 yards. He's 24 yards behind the quarterback. It's insane, bro.
Well,
That's right. If you want an argument about the spread, I don't really. To me, because like I have a lot invested into this guy at plus 1,000. Thanks. We caught that right before you got the rub. Um, to me, Hawaii. I've watched Hawaii play several times. I mean, they struck. They competed against UCLA. UCLA sucks. Sam Houston's pretty good school. Lost by 18. Lost by 3 to San Diego State. I mean, sure, can they score and backdoor cover that? Yes. I don't really care. Give me the over if you want anything, because Boise State can put up some damn points. So if you want an over, 60.5 looks pretty damn good, because if Portland State can score 14, Hawaii can probably do that. And you really just need like a 40 spot again. So give me the over, if anything. I don't really like the spread. Stay away from the spread. Give me the over.
if for anything else, at a minute 28 in the show,
And Budgeman's here, by the way. Speaking of the comment here, Budgeman is here, so we need to maybe pick this up a little bit since
all
he's
right,
just my little Budgeman. So
all
let's just
right.
get into it. Let's just get into it. Let's get into the big game here.
Ole
I know.
Miss on
Yeah,
the road, Tiger Stadium, nighttime, 3.5 point road favorite, back to back away games for Lane Kiffin there and the fellas. Both teams have more injury. They could make 2 football teams with the injuries that they have. I think it's an unbelievable amount of parity here, because I think both coaches actually do like each other. What do you say? What do you think?
this one has okay. If you got one of those scales where like it marks the probability of who's going to win, this would be all over the place. Um, After week 2, I told you I would have put my life on Ole Miss. We're here now. I have no idea who's going to win this game. I literally don't. I part of it, like if you want my gut feeling says this is going to be a very tough game. I think the home crowd's going to be a huge factor. I think the score is going to be low scoring. I think this could come down to a possession and a half. Um, to me, I'm taking the Tigers, and I hate.
Whoa
I'm
now,
telling you,
whoa now,
and
whoa,
I
whoa, whoa,
and I'm
whoa,
not, and
whoa.
I'll say this: I'm not one of these fans that is blind or oblivious or biased. You know that for a fact because you get mad anytime I try and talk to you
I don't
about.
even know who I'm talking to right now.
I think LSU is going to win this game. I'm telling you, something about the Kentucky game. They're human. Every team is human, and when every team's human, and you're getting into a dogfight, 6:30 in Tiger Stadium. I'm telling you, bro. Something about this game just tells me. And anytime, what happened the last time Ole Miss played LSU in Tiger Stadium in a big game, like a top 10 matchup like this? What happened?
They won.
You were eating grass. Okay, you're on the field eating grass. Um,
I was on the field.
so give me the Tigers. Give me the under. If anything,
We
I don't
were
think
on
it's
the
gonna be
field.
anything like last year's game. I think this is gonna be a very close game.
We
Very,
we
very tough.
we went on the field.
I was not. I was at the game. Did not go on the field.
Okay, I don't remember what we. I
I'm sure you don't. Yeah. Look, we don't remember a lot of our LSU games. But that's
we don't remember a lot of the games. That's okay. We don't remember a lot of things that happened after the game, but the games itself. Listen, I'm not really prepared to pick. I can't, and I know that's a cop out. I kind of need the injuries report to come out. I need to
yeah.
know who's playing.
Where's Durham at? Do you have an update on that?
Caden Durham feels like he's probable. Trey Harris feels like they say he's a game time decision or whatever, but I think that's cap. I mean, I need to see the injury report. The Tigers are down big on linebackers, man. West Weeks is more than likely not going to go, which means you're going to have Debo Atkins and Devon Keys, two freshmen that have not played. You're having to play linebacker for you, and you're 1 and 2 deep. So I think you're going to have a Lane Kiffin offense that is going to go absolutely bat crap crazy against all odds. We're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, and I really don't know if I feel great about a majority of freshmen being on the field for the LSU defense. I think you're going to have at least 5 or 6 freshmen on the field at some point on the field if you're LSU. And I think if you're Garrett Nussmeier, how often can you make the right decision and mitigate disaster? I think you need to get your players the ball in space that need to have the ball. I don't think you need to force the ball to Kyron Lacey. CJ Daniels is more than likely not going to play in this game. It feels like you're still not going to have Chris Hilton. Kyle Parker is also not going to be out. So now you're down to your 6 receiver as your number 3. So, everyone in God knows that whenever Xavier Thomas goes in the game, it's going to be a gadget play to him out of the backfield. Like throw him the ball as well. Like get your playmakers the ball in space and mitigate disaster and get Jackson Dart on the ground. It feels like that needs to be the game plan. And so I think these edge rushers from LSU are going to have a field day. Can you run the ball between the tackles on this D line from Ole Miss that now has dudes on it? I don't know. This game though does feel like the points are kind of a lot. It feels like it should be a pick 'em.
I mean, this game was 6.5 after week 1.
Dude, and
It was
it was
everywhere.
6.5,
This
and
game's been
now it's
everywhere.
3.5, and now the total's at 61.5, and I feel like that is even still a little high.
Agreed.
But
With the new clock system and the new, like,
yeah,
I think
man,
you can argue LSU has issues in the red zone, right? So like they'll go on a long drive and maybe not convert in a big game. So to me, I really like the under.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be a nervous wreck. If we had better cell phone signal, I would go live from there. I would go live on YouTube from there or Instagram from there, from the Twitter, whatever, the X. I will have play. We will have plays out. I will more than likely post mine tomorrow. Well, I say probably tomorrow, Saturday morning rather than tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. As we did okay on the last week, but let's remember again. This was the game last year that was kind of the axe on what was going to happen with the LSU defense, and it was foreshadowing to come. So what can Brian Kelly tell the team to make them decide to want to be those boys? Lock the gates. Lock the gates, turn down the lights, let the LEDs come on. They're doing the bracelets in the lower bowl, 100 years of Tiger Stadium, for respect, for the love of the game, bro, for the fans that want to be there. Can you just go out and tear somebody's ass up? Can you do it? We're going to find out. I can't wait.
I think the big difference from last year's game, Blake Baker. I'm telling you. And he sends a lot of pressure. And I was kind of iffy about it, but I like it. I like it. He's consistent with bringing guys. Well, if you remember last year's game, we sat back and got destroyed end zone every single play.
And it still took a fumble and a dropped pass in the end zone with that crazy ending for you to lose that game. That's literally
what Blake Baker is going. I think that addition is going to make a difference here.
We'll see, brother. I hope you're right. But that puts a button on us for the week. It's going to be an unbelievable week of college football. By the way, shout out to all the people that have put out the tweets about if you have a wedding this weekend, then you should be ashamed of yourself. I fully agree. If you expect people to go to your wedding on a day like this without at least YouTube TV, shout out to YouTube TV, on their phone or some sort of live streaming device to be able to watch college football at your wedding, then you don't care about your friends and family. And it is a crime. No one likes Friday weddings, but this is the kind of week where you have a Friday wedding. This is peak college football. Chef's kiss to it.
Agreed. All right. Well, stay tuned to the Twitter. We'll have some betting plays on there. And otherwise, hope everyone enjoys their Saturday, and we will see y'all next week.